Welcome to a new episode of Delphine Circle, where we uncover the mind, body, and spirit of success. Subscribe now for free to receive updates on the latest interviews. Then, sit back, relax, and tune in. Kim Taylor Reece, welcome to the Circle.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be here.
Yay, well, we're happy to have you here.
Yeah.
You and I met recently through our mutual friend, Wyland.
Yes.
And you guys are homeboys in Hawaii, and two of the standout artists there. You are the foremost Hawaii fine art photographer and known for your work specifically with the kahiko hula,
Right.
ancient hula.
Yeah, the ancient hula. I started that. I started that working with them about 40 years ago, and I don't know. My whole background with that is that my dad was stationed in Hawaii during Pearl Harbor. He was a Pearl Harbor survivor, but he always came back and talked about the hula dancers and how beautiful and wonderful the people of Hawaii and the
It's like Bali High.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I had this whole fantasy thing, and I got there to Hawaii, and they had cellophane skirts, and it looked like an Elvis movie, and that wasn't really what the hula was about at all.
Are you kidding me? They really did have cellophane skirts?
Oh, yeah. You can still buy them.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Coconut bras. But I got there, and it wasn't what I was looking for. And then I started going to where some of the dancers were performing and stuff. And all of a sudden, this one day, I was at the Iolani Palace in Honolulu, and this guy brought out this halau, or troupe of dancers, and they did this thing called the hula kahiko, which is the ancient hula. And it was just really, really strong and really powerful and just really amazing. It's like,
Were they wearing the ancient dress as well?
Yeah, and I thought, this is what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started working with that and the dancers, and I did a lot of research in the Bishop Museum over in Honolulu, to the early costumes and the drawings from Captain Cook and the people that discovered Hawaii. And, the missionary people that were discovered Hawaii, the Hawaiians were already there. They discovered it from Tahiti or Marquesas or something. But I started working with that, and I actually had a day job. What happened is I started putting my stuff into different art shows and things like that, like the Mayor's Office of Culture and Arts, and I kept winning awards. So I just kind of kept doing that, and I started publishing posters and that kind of thing, and it just took off.
Well, and your day job was advertising, right?
Yeah, I studied art from the time I was a little kid. My mom used to take me to museums and all of that kind of stuff, and I studied art, but then by the time I was a junior in college, my teachers figured out I was colorblind. And they told me, if you don't change your major, you're going to end up being a starving artist.
Oh.
So I thought advertising, was design and that kind of stuff. I thought that was kind of artistic. So I changed my major and went up to San Jose State, and I got a degree in advertising. And I had an ad agency in Hawaii for about 10 years.
Were you primarily an art director? Or?
No, I had the whole thing. I was doing it. I was doing
copy,
television, commercial. I wrote copy. I was doing everything, and I started. I just got kind of tired of it after a while. I got kind of bored, and I started photographing dancers and that kind of stuff. And I started publishing. And after about 3 years, I shut down the gallery and just did that, and it just took off for me. And then I started, publishing books and that kind of stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. And I will say I've been a fan of your art for years, well before I knew you. I mean, it's hard to spend time in Hawaii and not see your art because it is so iconic and so beautiful. I always wondered, because you have a very specialized look about your art, because you print in sepia tone.
Right.
You do black and white primarily.
What I wanted to do is take people back to an earlier time and make them feel like they were in old Hawaii when the dancers
that makes sense, because I was always going, this is the most colorful place. Why does he do black and white? But now that you say that makes a lot of sense, because that's how I feel when I look at the art.
Yeah.
It's got a timelessness.
I just wanted people to experience the feeling that I was experiencing and get away from that whole thing with the cellophane skirts and the coconut bras and all that kind of stuff, because there's a whole culture that was stopped. But when the Calvinist missionaries came into Hawaii, they made them stop. Well, they didn't wear a lot, but they covered them up with muumuus that were wool.
What years were those?
Back in the 1800s. And they made them stop doing that. They made them stop their religion. They made them stop speaking the language. It was totally like they were trying to, westernize the Hawaiian Islands. And then for a while, that dance was banned for more than 50 or probably 75 years. So they weren't allowed to do that because the Hawaiians didn't have a written culture, a written history. Their history was a verbal history. So they would speak and chant, and the dancers would act out what the chanter was saying to teach the people, the laws and the rules and all of that kind of stuff. Similar to what if you go to the cathedrals in Europe, there's all these little, enclaves on the sides of the things. Before people could read in Europe, they would have people acting out what the priest was saying in front of these cathedrals and stuff. And Hawaii had a similar kind of a history. So
how did it get passed down to generations? How did it survive?
The families did it, and it went underground, and they passed it down. So when I started learning about it and I started studying it to figure out what was going on with it, I would go to 2 or 3 different, hundreds probably, different hula halaus or troops, and I would sit there and I'd watch them practice. And what I found was that each kumu hula or hula teacher had a different style from a different family in a different area in Hawaii. So there's a lot of variation and stuff, but it still goes back to the core beliefs that the Hawaiians had. And
so is it used mostly in celebration? Is it religious ritual, or how is the dance used now?
Some of the dancers were actually in the early days, were actually like nuns, and they lived in a convent, and they were only allowed to perform for the elite or the kings and queens and that kind of stuff. Some of it was done as if the king or whatever was speaking, then the dancers would act out what they were doing to teach the people.
And how is it used now? Yeah.
Now, it's used to kind of bring back the culture and let people know what was happening back in the earlier days. And they have actually started to expand and write more music and chants that are more contemporary now. I'm
actually so surprised how hard it is to find hula when you go as a tourist. I mean, there might be some specific shows that you got to go on a specific night, but you would imagine that, it's so beautiful. You would think that every hotel, every happy hour, they would have hula, right?
Yeah. If you live there.
Yeah.
And you're in a bar, in a happy hour, whatever, the dancers will get up.
Really?
And dance in between the tables and stuff. Yeah, if there's musicians and stuff there.
Maybe that's how you met Kanoi.
Actually, her sister, you did dance. We were at a CD release party for our brother-in-law. He was marrying her sister, and they invited us to a CD release party, and then he asked her to get married up on stage, and I met her at that event.
Wow.
And they did get up and dance. She's got 2 other sisters, and they all dance.
Oh my gosh. So do they teach it in schools now, or how is it being passed down nowadays?
They teach it to kids when they're growing up, and you kind of learn it in the 4th grade because May Day is Lay Day in Hawaii. And so all the kids will get a basic kind of a understanding for it. But then after that, you join a halau or a troop, and there are hundreds of them in Hawaii.
Okay, so it might be like how they do cheerleading here or something like that?
Yeah, or mountain bike racing or whatever. You kind of go off.
I think cheerleading's a little closer related.
Yeah. But no, they'll practice like it was a volleyball team or whatever, and they compete. There's a big competition in Hilo every year called the Merry Monarch Hula Competition or Festival. And they'll have thousands of dancers that come in from all over the state. And now in the last maybe 5 or 10 years, they've actually added in a few Japanese hulaus. There's 1 million dancers in Japan that dance the hula, but they do the old style, the cellophane skirt stuff.
Oh.
They don't really get into the culture.
Okay.
But when you go to the Merry Monarch Hula Competition, which is a big kind of a Mardi Gras party over there for dancers, they'll do both styles. They'll do the awana or the modern hula, and then they'll compete in the hula kahiko.
Nice.
And then they have a Miss Aloha Hula who individually competes every year.
Now, I noticed in your photography, there's all different types of attire or dress or headdresses and different types of materials used for the skirts. Is that for the different regions or how?
Yeah, and the way it's evolved over the years, one of the things is that the early dancers used tapa or kapa cloth, and it's pounded bark, and then they would dye it and do tribal tattoo kind of things on it, and that was their basic outfit or their basic concept. They didn't have tops. They didn't wear tops. The missionaries took care of that.
And I've
later.
noticed that your pictures brought that style back.
Well, we give them a little bit of a lay.
I was like, he's going back to the ancient dress.
Well, yeah. They actually only wear like feathers under their arms or around their head, that kind of stuff. They didn't even have the lace and the flower stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's probably another thing that made it really popular.
Yeah, I could imagine for sure. Well, they are super beautiful.
Yeah, I tried to get it as close as I could without. We get banned all the time from weird places, Facebook or whatever. But what I'm gearing my stuff for is museums, and the museums. It's like if you go into the Sistine Chapel, there's 300 nudes in the ceiling without counting cherubs. So I'm kind of looking in that direction from a historical standpoint. And that's why I did so much research in the Bishop Museum. And I've worked with all of these different kinds of dancers from different neighborhoods or different areas in Hawaii.
Is there one museum in particular that would be the biggest wish?
Yeah, probably the Louvre. Actually, the Elizabeth and Albert Museum in London. It's a portrait gallery or a museum. And my last name, Reece, is there's a street next to the Elizabeth and Albert Museum.
So you're close. You're really
I'm
close.
Yeah, my name is on that street. My family's from there, so I'm like a block away.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm sure that'll happen. I have happened to hear while I was there visiting in Hawaii that it is considered a great honor for you to photograph a dancer. And it's a lot of these dancers are saying that's like that would be the highest honor is to be photographed for you. How do you select the dancers that you photograph?
Earlier in the beginning, we would go to the Mary Monarch Hula competition because there's like 1,000 dancers there from all over the islands. And what I would do is we would find dancers there. We'd just watch them. In fact, for a while, I was going in and photographing for the ABC television station that was filming it over there. And I did that for a few years. And they would use my stuff for bumpers in and out of, commercial stuff. So, but that's how I got a press pass to get in there and get right on the stage. I didn't really care about the TV station.
So were you photographing or were you videoing?
No, I was photographing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And they'd, before they go into a commercial, they put up a couple of pictures of the dancers. And then at the end of the commercial, they'd put up a couple more and then they'd go into the program again. So I was doing that for a while. But it gave me an entree into the stage. So I was doing that. But actually, in reality, I didn't really care about that stuff. I was looking for dancers.
Yeah.
And what I do is I actually pay my dancers. A lot of people just, photograph them and say, see you later. But I actually pay them because I don't want to have to be doing like wedding photography where you got to get everything perfect. It's like if I mess up, I don't have to use that one. I can use whatever I want. So that gave me a lot more freedom too with that.
And it seemed to me that you pick women of all kind of different types and looks. You don't have like a one specific look that you pick. And I think it's, women of different body shapes and sizes. And so that is really cool. I love that you do that.
Well, one of the things, I'm really looking for their, not just their energy, but their passion. And if you can get a dancer that just like gets into the space of her dance and she'll forget that you're even there. And that's when I get my best shots. So I'm really looking for the strength and the energy and basically passion. I mean, and they are really into it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like photographing a football game, It's like you got to be fast.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To catch a lot of this stuff. But when I get it, I'm really I'm really happy with it. I did when Ansel Adams passed away about 10 or 15 years ago. I'm getting old, so I can't remember how long ago he passed away, but Ansel Adams was a really great photographer.
Was he one of your inspirations?
No, because I'm not really into landscape
Right.
and that kind of stuff. I loved his darkroom techniques and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. That was mind-boggling. But when I went to a retrospective after he died, he had something from 1947, 1956, 1962, and about every 3 or 4 years, he had a shot that was good enough to put in a museum after you're dead. And I find as I've been working, and I've been doing this for 40 years, that every 3 or 4 years, I will get a shot that's like the cover of the Rolling Stone or National Geographic. And that's kind of what I'm building, because my goal is to be in a museum 200 years from now and have people look at this stuff and go, oh, okay, well, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and although, yes, the figures in your art are beautiful, but there's also a lot of nature in your art. And I really love that you always manage to, bring in the water or the waterfall or the natural foliage of Hawaii. And do you tend to like to shoot at the same place, or do you don't mind, you'll choose any location?
I like to shoot at places where there's not a lot of people around. So we'll find
Clearly.
like secluded beaches
Yeah.
or waterfalls,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. One time I did a photo shoot and the girl was a Miss Hawaii, and I think she turned out to be Miss Universe. I don't know. But we went to a beach called Sandy Beach, which is the first beach coming out of Waikiki. Dangerous to body surf. but we went there because it was the closest beach, and we had, people that were working with us and designers and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, about 200 people on vacation came over and started taking pictures and videos. They were taking their vacation pictures during this photo shoot. And I went, oh, I'm never going to do this to a dancer again. So after that happened, we've always kind of found places that are kind of out of the way.
Do you have a favorite time of day?
Depends on what side of the island I'm on. In the morning, when the sun's coming up, usually we'll shoot around 7 or 8 o'clock, and I'm not a morning person. And then in the afternoon, the sunsets over on the west side or the Waikiki side are always really amazing. But
So if Ansel Adams isn't your inspiration, who is?
My inspiration as far as art is probably Paul Gauguin. And I joke that he's my competition, but he's been dead for 100 years. It's like,
And he wasn't a photographer.
no, he wasn't. But I mean, he has some beautiful, beautiful images of the Tahitian people.
Yes,
and
that's so true.
some great. And I sometimes I look at his stuff and I wonder if he was colorblind, because his colors are kind of out there sometimes. Yeah.
No, so true. You've published 5 books.
Right. Yeah.
One of them is entitled Wahini.
Wahini was a book I did with a lot of models and a lot of the Miss Hawaii girls that are friends of mine.
Yeah. But it translates to women, right?
It translates to women. And I should have put that in the title, because it probably would have sold twice as much, but it's sold out, so I'm okay. But no, it's called Wahini. And I had all of these women that would ask me, will you photograph me? And, after a while, it's kind of dumb. You're telling Miss Hawaii you don't want to photograph her because she can't dance. It's like, what's wrong with you, buddy? So I took about 8 years, and I was still photographing hula and that kind of stuff. But when I'd run into like my friends and that kind of stuff and they wanted to do it, well, I'd put that together. And we would go to places like Kavela Bay, that bay by Wyland's house. It looks like something out of a postcard, or different locations that were really pretty and really nice. And I would just kind of let them do whatever they wanted to do, because they were models. I mean, they were trained models, and they could pose and they could do that kind of stuff. But my theme for that was like, it's kind of a chauvinist, kind of from a guy standpoint. But if you were a shipwrecked sailor and your ship was wrecked off of Hawaii and you swam up to the beach and there was this beautiful woman there, that's kind of the fantasy or the thing I was trying to create with that. And it did really well. We published that book, and it sold out really quick. And then we went on to other stuff. We don't really, my wife and I, we work together, Kanoi. but we kind of get bored with stuff, so we want to change. So we've done the Wahini book.
Wyland says it's because you love women. That's why
I do have.
he says you got to have him tell you why he loves women.
No, yeah. Actually, my mom told me, we used to tease my sister. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and there was a couple of girls in the family. And we used to tease my sister all the time. And my mom kind of took all the boys over to the side and went, listen, stop doing that. You should make women feel good. This is your job in your life. It's like,
so true. Good job, Mom.
Yeah. So that's kind of, it fit right in with what I'm doing with photography. It's
Right?
like, oh, that's easy. But yeah.
And you can see it. You can see it in your art. It's so beautiful. And, I think now with women feeling so sometimes self-conscious about their body image, and to see the beautiful way that you photograph women and make them look natural.
Yeah.
I think that really helps us, and especially this younger generation that is so, everything's so photoshopped and flawlessness and, everything, plastic surgery. How much photoshopping do you do to those photos?
Hardly any. Okay. Because when I started out, I worked with film. And if like if you're working digital and you're working in Photoshop, you can take molds off and that kind of stuff. In film, you can't do that. And if you're going to sell your original to a museum or a gallery or whatever, you can't do that in the darkroom. I mean, it's impossible. So I've always stayed really, really pure to just natural in the way they look or the way they show up when they come for the shoot. But yeah, that was the whole thing. And then I for the Wahini book, I just let them do whatever they wanted to do, and because I don't give my dancers a lot of direction. You're not going to tell a prima ballerina how to jump or whatever, right? So I kind of let them go, and I just shoot a bunch of film, and then we'd go through it, and I'd go through it, and what I'm looking for is an emotional connection with the audience. Yeah. So if you walk into the gallery and there's 20 or 30 pictures there, you're going to have an emotional reaction, and that's what I want. I want people to feel this dance, and even with the hula dancers, I mean, some of them are just really, really amazing to work with.
Yeah, and
absolutely. It's inspirational to me to see them do that. But like you were saying, a lot of the women do come to me and ask, if I'll photograph them and that kind of stuff. And I do all kinds of, it doesn't make any difference how small or big or what your body looks like. If you have that passion and you can dance, I mean, I can catch it.
Wow.
And that's what I love to do.
Do you do commission work? If somebody wanted you to photograph them, do you do commission?
Hardly ever.
Is it because you don't want to, or most people just don't even ask?
No, I don't need to. We get asked all the time. I think the last time we did one was a girl that her husband flew her in on a jet, or private jet, and we did a photo shoot with her, and found a couple of images that we liked, and she flew away, and he didn't even show up. I think he was in a foreign country somewhere.
He'll see the pictures. Yeah, he's figured he'll see the pictures.
Yeah. So we, and once in a while, if it's friends or that kind of a thing, I'll do that. But I don't do weddings, and I don't do puppies and babies and that kind of stuff. I like to be able to control it so that if I don't get that shot, if it's not the Ansel Adams shot, I don't have to come back and worry about it and say, oh, I'm really sorry. Everything I got was junk. It's like,
I'm sure that doesn't happen.
And that's why I pay them a modeling fee and that kind of stuff. And sometimes we'll give them like a buyout thing, depending on what we're using it for. But we always take care of them. I mean, I've bailed out dancers from jails down in Brazil. It's like, call me up, I'll get you out of there.
Oh my gosh.
No, they're family.
You're a full service photographer.
Yeah, they're family after that.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is I've done generations now of dancers.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
That would be a cool shot to see them all in one picture, right?
Yeah.
That's your next book, man.
Yeah, I've got a couple more up my sleeve, but I don't know. Kanoe and I want to travel a lot,
There
so
you go.
we'll see.
So you talk about working in film and, photography. We had Jason Ellis, we call him King of Covers. He's the photographer who has graced more magazine covers than any other photographer.
He does fitness.
Yes, all the
I've
fitness
seen,
stuff. Yeah,
Kanoe,
really cool guy. But we talked about how much your art has changed because probably more so than any other fine art with the advancements in technology and digital work and even now the way that images are being used is so different than in the old days. What are your thoughts about how your art has changed, how your craft has developed?
Oh my God. I started out with an old camera that my dad had given me. I think it was called a Topcon Beazler or something. They used to make enlargers. And he gave me a camera and it had a light leak in the lens. And so I'd take a picture and there would be this shot of light coming through there and people thought I was really mystical. It was it's like, oh yeah, it's an old camera.
God is gracing his work.
Yeah, but then I started getting into some nice cameras, some Canons and that kind of stuff. And I was shooting film. And I really enjoyed that. I really liked it. And then everything changed to digital. And I actually took a break for a year. And I went back to painting.
Were you pouting?
Not really. It's just like, yeah, kind of. I guess I was stamping my feet going, damn it.
Damn it.
I just learned this,
Yeah.
No, I took a break for a year and we had a gallery at the time in downtown Honolulu. We've always got a gallery somewhere, but I started painting and drawing again. And that's originally why I started photographing the dancers, so I could use those images to sketch and paint, because you can't freeze a dancer in the middle of a spin or something. So I went back to that and I drew and painted about 30 different images. Well, probably 20. But I put it in a show and it totally bombed. And it was like, okay, forget it. I'm going to figure out digital. So I went back to the camera and I started figuring out digital, which took me a while.
What camera are you using these days?
Right now, I'm using a camera that was a backup camera for me. It's a Sony mirrorless camera. It doesn't have that clicky noise because it doesn't have a mirror, and it's all digital. It's really light. It's really fast. And it was my backup camera, and I gave away all my Canon cameras and my darkroom and all that.
You just give that stuff away?
Well, we right now, for the last year or so, we've worked with a nonprofit gallery in Hawaii, and it's an incubator for new artists. And there's a performance space there. We bring in everything from Shakespeare, ballet, burlesque, drag shows, anything if you can think of it, we'll do it there with you.
Where is it?
It's right in downtown Honolulu by the Hawaii Theater.
Shoot, I should have gone by there. That sounds
Yeah,
so cool. I'll definitely make a
really
point to
cool
do
place.
that.
Yeah, we have a different show every month where we bring in new artists and that kind of stuff. Lately, we've been doing a lot of stuff with first responders and COVID and that kind of thing, and kind of recognizing them.
So you share your old equipment there?
Yeah, they have my darkroom, and I gave away most of my cameras for them to use. There's still people in college that are doing black and white photography, I guess. I don't know.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah. Well, when we shifted from black and white or from film to digital, we had to take, and did it up at BYU because it's the closest university on the North Shore up there. And I had a friend who taught that class, the digital art. And what happened was we would take the negatives and we'd have to scan them into the computer and then work in Photoshop. You couldn't just plug in and do Photoshop. But it was just kind of one of those things where it's like we've kind of been ahead of the curve with everybody, just trying new stuff out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
So now, I don't know, everybody's talking about NFTs and what are those
fungible tokens?
non-fungible tokens or whatever. There was a thing back in the 60s or 70s in Hawaii called pogs. And what they were bottle caps from milk cartons. And about 10, 15 years ago, well, it was 15 or 20 years ago now, they came back out. It was like a fad from the 50s or whatever. They brought it back. And all of the artists and everybody started doing these POG things. So you'd put your picture on one of them and they would sell them for like a bottle cap for like 10 or 15 bucks. And if you signed it, they take it over someplace else and sell it for 25, which happened a lot. But that was kind of a fad. And these NFT things, it's like, is this going to be another POG fad that's going to like come in and go out, or I don't know. We're still working on it.
It's growing with cryptocurrency, so I'd say it's probably going to be around for a while. If I were going to guess.
We're still working on it. We're still trying to figure it out. Speaking of Wyland, he's trying to figure it out too. He goes, "No, I did it wrong the first time."
Yeah.
But we kind of bounce off of each other as far as marketing and business and that kind of stuff. We're totally different audiences for our artwork. Well, it can overlap sometimes, but usually but we're really good friends as far as just coming up with ideas to create new stuff. And a lot of times it's in the direction of marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys are good people to follow. So we do a little thing here, Kim, called Big Questions.
Okay.
And these are designed to kind of figure out the inner workings of the man. Tell me, do you have any consistent daily routines?
I do try and sleep in late. Not really. Being an artist, I can kind of do anything and go any direction that
That's
I
always
want.
kind of been the life of an artist, huh? It's like the fluidity of it is.
Yeah, and you're just open to everything. So if something comes up, I do like to body surf as much as I can. I like to be in the ocean and sailing, that kind of stuff. Routine. The only routine I think I have is I get up and eat yogurt and granola in the morning. After that,
delicious. I'd like to do that too.
Open.
All right, tell me something that people would be surprised to know about you.
Oh wow, there's so many. I've walked on fire in Tahiti. I've delivered 5 babies.
Okay, what does that mean? You've delivered 5 babies?
I used to be a medic. I was a Navy medic, but I ended up with the Marines.
Wow, that's very cool.
I delivered my own daughter later. I was a medic, so I've got a lot of bad war stories.
That's very cool. I don't know. I kind of like that. Good person to hang around.
Just in case.
Just in case. What do you think is the purpose of life? Why are we here?
We're here to enjoy ourselves and have a great time. We are happy to be alive.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think I got that from the military too, seeing so many things happen to people, young people, that after I got out of there, I think I was about 21 or 22, it's like, you know what? I'm alive. I'm going to take advantage of this and really have a good time and be happy.
You look pretty happy.
I've never complained, hardly ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me about a piece of advice that you were given that has served you well.
Oh, okay. Wow, piece of advice. My dad told me that if you're working for somebody else, you're never going to make any money. And then I figured that out later when I was working in advertising. I mean, in advertising, you're making millions and millions of dollars through these other guys and their other companies. And I went, I can do this. I'll just take what I like to do and I can advertise it because I know how to do that. So, or market it or whatever. So that's one of the things. And I think that's where Wyland and I kind of connected. We've always kind of been in control of our publishing, if you have a gallery, buy the land. We haven't really given it out to other people. We do license stuff. I license my images to a rum company in Hawaii, and we've done like gold jewelry and sculptures and statues and that kind of stuff. So that's a whole different kind of a thing where they take your image and use it on their product, and they make a lot of money with it, and you get a small royalty. But if you get enough of those,
hopefully they make a lot of money with it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
It's good if you can get it, right?
It's kind of like, how come we don't have this business? Why do we let them do it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Tell me something that you used to believe but you don't anymore.
When I first got into art, I thought that it would be a nice, happy place and that kind of thing. And when you get into the business side of it, there are people that will take advantage of you if you let them. And so to me, one of the things that I really didn't expect was to have to defend my copyrights and my intellectual property rights with some major companies. And we've had to kind of go through that a lot of times because it's so successful that other people and they don't ask. If you ask, sure, we'll work with you. But they'll just kind of take off with it and do that. And having to go back in and kind of defend your copyright or defend your creativity and your intellectual property was kind of not just a shock, but it's really stressful too to have to deal with that kind of stuff. So that was something yeah.
Well, and I know because you've owned 5 galleries on 3 different islands. And I just saw too that your work was prominently displayed in the hotel in Hilo. It's that the Naniloa?
Yeah, the Grand Naniloa Resort, yeah.
Yeah, so
they wanted to do a feeling that's right next to where they do the Merry Monarch Hula competition. And that was always kind of all the dancers would stay there. It was kind of the party hotel. And then it kind of went into disrepair after they had an owner that wasn't really paying attention to it. So they wanted to bring that back and create that kind of a feeling and that kind of a hula, aloha. I mean, when you go into the place, it's just, I mean, they spoil you there. But it's, yeah, we helped them with that a lot.
So are there aspects about the business that you do enjoy?
Oh, I love business.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of people, a lot of artists, and even Weiland's book, Don't Be a Starving Artist.
Yeah.
There's kind of this perception that the art business is very, very difficult, that you really don't make much money in it. And
yeah. No, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love his book. In fact, we use it over at the incubator gallery for the new artists coming in. If you read through that book, it's relatively simple from a marketing standpoint, but it could be a lesson plan in a college art class, and you could go through that every paragraph, or not every paragraph, but every chapter, and have a lesson plan for the day.
We got to get him on masterclass.
Yeah, it's a really, really good book, and coming from a marketing or an advertising background, he was able to simplify it so that most artists don't get any kind of training at all in business. And when I do like talks or little lectures to the high school kids and some of the colleges and that kind of stuff, I tell them, learn how to run a lemonade stand. You get the lemonade, you get your sign out there, you make the money, and then you put your money back into your lemonade and then keep doing it, and then you build it from there. And that's it's basic business. They don't even give them that for art students. So, yeah.
Now the rum business, is that something is that a licensing deal, or are you part of the rum company?
It's a licensing. We're part of the hotel company, but the licensing with the rum, they came to us 5 years before they even had the sugar cane growing. And it's called canoe cane. It's indigenous to Hawaii and Tahiti. The Hawaiians came up from Tahiti and the Marquesas, and they brought the sugar cane with them. So
but isn't all the sugar cane in Hawaii Hawaiian sugar cane?
No, because it doesn't grow straight. When they did the big plantation, the sugar plantations like they have down in Mexico and the Caribbean, that kind of stuff, they have a kind of sugar cane that grows straight, and it's easier to cut it and that kind of stuff. The Hawaiian sugar cane is like kind of all over the place. It's not really straight, so it's difficult to run a machine through there. And these guys, we watched them for 5 years grow this sugar cane. They got it from the Bishop Museum, and they started planting it, and they actually juiced the sugar cane by hand. And
so does it taste different than the other sugar cane?
Yeah, most rums are made from molasses, and probably 99% of rums are made from molasses. This is called agricole, and it's made from the pure sugarcane juice, so it has a totally different taste, and it's really, really good.
What do you liken it to? Does it have a smokier or earthier? Or?
No, they have 4 or 5 different varietals, they call it, varieties, but they'll put them in different barrels. They'll put them in like an oak barrel, or they'll put them in a bourbon barrel or something like that, and so it'll change. And they have another one that I don't know how they did this, but it's called Kokoleka, and it's a chocolate bourbon. It's great at Christmas time. It's awesome.
I can't believe you didn't bring any. We should be drinking this right now.
I know. I don't think they let you that
Well,
on
and
the
I saw
airplane.
the picture. You actually etch the glass bottle.
It's a square. It's kind of a French bottle. It's about this big. And we etch a different dancer for each edition that we've done. We've done, I think, 14 or 15 editions over the years. And we changed the image of the dancer. And they only do like a single barrel. So we'll only get about 200 bottles. Sometimes we'll get about 280.
Wow, what a beautiful gift, right?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, in fact, a lot of people don't even drink it. They just put it on their shelf and leave it. Yeah. But it's expensive. It's like $125 a bottle, and the bottle's only like this big. So you don't really want to waste it.
Yeah.
You don't want to make a Mai Tai with it.
Although I do love a good Mai Tai.
Yeah, I do too. they have other rum for that, but not the one they're doing with
not
me.
This one. No, this is a sipping rum for sure.
Yeah.
What can we expect from Kim Taylor Reece?
Traveling. I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, this is like we got off the rock for a while to come over here for a few days. I may be back again in March, but we were supposed to go to Paris a couple of months ago, and I don't know, it got all locked down again. We're kind of getting antsy to get back out there and travel. We travel all over the world. I photographed ballet dancers in Red Square in Russia. I have a ballet book too. And I mean, we've done dancers all over the world and shows, exhibits and shows in Japan and in Basel, Switzerland and Germany and all over the place. So
what do you think would be the theme of your next book?
I don't know. I've got a thing where I want to do portraits in paradise because the women in Hawaii are all these mixed cultures, and it just gives you this whole beautiful mix of just amazing, amazing people. And I want to do something like that. I've got a few other ones in the works, but I don't know. Right now, I just want to kind of. We've been relaxing for 2 years with the COVID thing. Well, actually, we haven't. We've been doing that incubator or gallery, the nonprofit thing, and that was a lot of work. When we got in there in January, they had $197 in the bank, and the rent was like $8,000 a month. So we had to pull that up from underwater, and now it's really stable. Kanoi did a lot of work with, the Liquor Commission. They had fines and back taxes from 2017, and we came in and cleaned all of that up and kind of brought it back up. And now we have a new director, and I think she'll be really good running
And what is that called if people want to find it?
It's called the Arts at Mark's Garage. And it's actually the name of it is it's called HAPA, Hawaii Association of Performing Arts. And then the DBA for it's the Arts at Mark's Garage. It's right by the old Hawaii Theater there. And in fact, we stole the girl from the Hawaii Theater to come over and be our director. She had been there 17 years. Come over here and do this. You can do anything you want.
Awesome. Well, I guess that's where we're going to have to go try to find you when we're there.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's really fun. We always have a great time. That was one of our things. It's like, if we're not having a good time, we're volunteers. We're out of here.
Exactly.
We don't close the door and leave it.
It's been so great having you here, Kim.
Thank
you so much.
This is really nice. It's really nice to be back in California, too. I'm originally from here, so.
Got our homeboy back, at least for a week.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Yeah, no, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Aloha, everybody. Come over and see us.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Delphine Circle. Don't forget to subscribe. It's free and it will help us keep these incredible interviews coming your way. Here are 2 other episodes you may enjoy. I'm Delphine. Welcome to my circle.